Okay, so before we bring this into Substance Painter, there are a few things we need to do. I did not export any other 3D mod, I didn't export any other model back to Maya. This was the one we kind of UV'd instead of Maya. So this will work just fine because everything now is in its base form that we can actually use to kind of texture instead of Substance Painter. So let me just put all of this inside the group just to keep things organized. I'll just name this, let me use caps, name this final, low poly, no, this space, poly, enter, yeah, that should be fine, enter, okay. So this is everything, this is like our final model that we can use for both VFX or for any gaming engine. Except if you need to kind of optimize this even more, but this will work just fine actually. So what I'm going to do is to kind of give this a separate material. So I'm giving this a separate material, but before that, let me select everything and then clear history on this. And just clear history on that. Okay. So now selecting the first one on the list, I'll go to right click and hold, favorite material, Lambert. Okay, and I'm going to change the name of this Lambert material and also give it a separately different color. Let me select this again. Maybe I won't copy this also. Maybe copy this back pokers, rings and pokers rather. And I'll just paste this in here. Okay. Enter. Then I'll change the color to red. The reason why we're doing this is because so that when we kind of export this out into Substance Painter, Substance Painter will kind of recognize each particular material as a texture set. So the texture set region in menu or section in Substance Painter is more or less like your outliner in here, but it's basically using textures to kind of to assign to various components or a single object or a single mesh inside of Substance Painter. So it's more or less like your layering system. No, layering system is wrong term to use. So it's more or less like your objects manager here. That's the right word to use, like your object manager inside of Substance Painter. So to kind of arrange your objects properly, you need to give them separate materials inside of Substance instead of Maya. So now I can export this out now as Duo FBX, DEA FBX, or DAE FBX rather. So DAE FBX, that will be the exportation format we're going to be using for this. So then I'm going to, you can actually use OBJ if you want to, or the normal regular FBX, but I always prefer using this DA FBX. Okay, so that should be fine. Weapon bats. So that's exporting everything out for us now. Let us give this a moment to export. Okay, we are good. That's finished exportation. Right, so now instead of Substance Painter now, let me just give this a moment to kind of load up. So we're good now. So now we'll go to File, New, then click on this. Okay, let me just make sure we're on the right path. So our main FBX, dual FBX file is in here, weapon bat, that's what I named it as, 11 MB, which is fine. So I'll copy this, come to select, come in here, I'll paste that in there. So I can just select the actual dual FBX file. That's fine, it's in there now. Then I'll come in here. The name is kind of import our textures. So Z maps, I'll just select everything. Let me just let's see. Yeah, let me rename this. I need to rename this. Let me rename this properly. So ZBAT normal. Okay. Enter. That's fine. Okay. So you can add this again now. That should update the name. Okay. So hold shift and select all of this. And I'll click on open. Yes. Then we just click OK. Let's see. I believe everything should come out correctly because our UVs are fine here. Everything we did is exactly fine. So that's why it imported this without any issues or complication or giving us any error message. So this is fine. So let me go to texture sets. So remember the texture set now, we kind of named everything with different colors. So that's how everything's been arranged in here since we have just 3 colors there. So you see the 3 colors we have in there, corresponding to 3 materials. So that kind of helps us kind of segment or arrange things properly instead of Substance Painter with texture sets. So going to the texture set settings, let me scroll down in here. So let's bring in a map for the bats. So I'm going to bring in the normal map in here. So we're going to be using this external normal maps kind of bake out other maps instead of Substance Painter. So I'll do the same for the other corresponding objects too. But in here it's actually called texture sets. So let me just solo this. You can see how the normal map is being affecting our model now, which is actually cool. So everything seems to be working correctly, and there are no issues on this. You always want to check around just to be sure if everything's working correctly before moving on. If not, then you have to go back and fix your UVs and then rebake your normal maps. You bake your normal maps again. So let's just import the corresponding maps for this also. So let me just kind of zoom out a bit more. That should refresh. Yeah, this is fine. You can see all our details in there now. Everything seems to be working correctly as it should. I'll solo this. Alright. So this is all good. This is all good. It's working correctly like we want it to. Just checking this just to be sure. Okay, that's fine. You can always accentuate some of this detail also by applying the normal map in the layers panel also. But for now, this is good since we only need one to kind of bake out other maps for this. Then for the nails, we will just plug in the nail normal map. So everything is fine now. There isn't much going on in here because we just kind of baked out just a normal generic map with a higher subdivision level, nothing too fancy. So I think everything is fine now. There are no issues whatsoever. So under the display settings, let me turn on shadow and see how this is. This is fine. Okay. Everything seems to be working just fine. This is exactly what we want. Okay. Alright, that's fine. Yes. So now we can actually bake maps now. So go to the texture set settings, bake maps. So I'm going to change the output size to 2K or even 4K if you want to. That's completely up to you. Then I'll go to let's go to the curvature. Then I want to kind of generate my curvature from the normal map. So I'll click on this, generate from mesh node, generate from normal map. This is exactly what we want. So I'll leave it at default. What else can we change in here? So make sure you apply this to all, so it affects the other ones also. Then I'll go to ambient occlusion. I'll change this self occlusion to only self same name. I'll click apply to all also. Then you have to make sure you turn off this normal map because we're baking our maps from the external normal map. We're baking other supporting maps from the normal map itself, from the external normal map. So make sure that is turned off. Okay. The ID we're going to use the ID, we're going to use mesh ID slash polygroup. So this is kind of give each object a separate ID color. So to enable us kind of mark things out and kind of texture things as an individual object or individual piece. Okay, so everything seems fine. Everything seems fine. So now we can just hit, yeah, this is fine. You can hit bake textures now. So this is done baking all our texture maps. Okay, this came out quite nicely.